So how early did you start climbing?
I mean, I started climbing in the gym when the first gym opened in Sacramento. I think I was 10 or 11, maybe 11.
What did you enjoy about it?
I just have always, I mean, so even before the gym opened, I was like climbing on trees and buildings and like climbing on the roof and like playing on things. I love like swinging on the monkey bars, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've always
was this like typical kid playing around, or was this kind of above and beyond what most kids
I mean, it was
do?
just like in a more extreme version of typical kid playing around. Because it's the same, like I was playing on all the same stuff, but I was just probably taking it a few steps further.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, like, I remember like hiding on the roof of the school, like, you know, things like that, just random. But yeah, and then once the gym opened, I love the movement. I just love like, yeah, I love the movement of climbing. And that's always been like the core of it.
What's your earliest climbing memory?
I remember like my home gym, like the original gym that opened in Sacramento, has a bunch of roots like carved into the walls are like sort of plaster, and they have like carved roots in the walls. It's like normally, you know, they change the roots around because it's holes that you screw on, but the ones that are carved into the wall are like permanent plaster. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of those roots, like I still could go in and climb a couple of them blindfolded. I haven't been there in like 10 years, but I just like know every single move on a lot of those roots because I climbed them like many times a day for my entire childhood.
What?
And so like, in some ways that kind of like muscle memory type thing is like what I remember most of like my early gym experiences. Like, I mean, I could easily like draw out the sequence for like half the things in that old gym. I'm just like, yeah, it's classic.
Family life and upbringing. You know, your friend told me the household you grew up in, there really wasn't a lot of love. Your dad was sleeping on the couch, you know, most nights. He said your mom was kind of frosty and distant. And in his perspective, it just didn't seem like your parents really wanted to be parents. How did that affect you?
No, I'm frosty and cold, so I don't know. No, I mean, I don't know. I mean, and that might be a bit, you know, he's like given too much on one side a little bit, mm-hmm. But I don't know. I mean, the thing is, like, when you're a kid, that all seems normal, so you just think that that's like the way things are. It's not until you're adult that you're like, oh wow, it seemed like my family scene is like a little bit different than the typical. But you know, it's all worked out well.
Well, I mean, what do you think as an adult though? Looking back?
As an adult, I think that my parents probably should have gotten divorced when we were like little kids, and they would have led like happier, more well-adjusted lives. I think that they just did a little bit too much of the like stay together for the kids type of thing, and they just weren't like personally fulfilled and like personally happy in there. Because it's funny, they got divorced after I graduated high school. It was like the classic, you know, stay together until the kids leave and then be done. And like for the year after they divorced, they were both like so much cooler to be around and so much happier and like nicer people. And I was like, dude, you guys should have done this like 15 years ago. You know, it was like,
right.
So, or maybe 10 years ago. But yeah, so much nicer. But then my dad unfortunately died the next year, and so then like never really got to see like him as a normal. Like a lot of my older cousins and stuff talk about how cool my dad was when he was young, but like I only knew him as like an older guy who was like not that happy, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of too bad I never got to see him as like, you know, his own person.
You went through a period, like a year that seemed like it must have been really tough, because I think it was the day before you were moving into college, your grandpa passes away. Then I think you find out around that time that your parents are divorcing, and then within a year of that, your dad dies of the heart attack. Mm-hmm. How difficult was that period for you to go through?
Both my grandparents and my father all died within like the end of high school, beginning of college.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it was hard, but it's one of those things where like when you're going through it, it just, you know, that's just life. I don't know. And especially as a teenager, I was like all angstful and anything anyway. So it's like, I don't know. And tied up with all the other family, like we just weren't like close in the way some families are, and so it didn't feel, yeah, I don't know, it's weird.
Well, somebody told me that at the time it didn't really seem like you were struggling with anything and you were just normal Alex, but then somebody told me that the 20-year-old Alex didn't really realize what he lost when his dad passed away, but the 30-year-old Alex knows very clearly.
Yeah, I think that's actually kind of fair. Is that I think it was 19-year-old Alex didn't really appreciate like what I lost when my dad died, and then yeah, as an adult, I'm like, oh, that's kind of a bummer. Yeah, but I mean that's being a kid, is like not fully appreciating things, not quite understanding it all. Like I mean, you just don't have. I didn't have like the proper framework to put it all in.
For more clips from this interview, visit GrahamBensinger.com.